2 of our Hangouts tonight. And we're going to focus now on Tesla's decision today to open source their patent portfolio, present and future. And yeah, we have a blurry-eyed and tech maven here joining us. Welcome, guys.
Thanks. Is my mic working?
Yeah, everything's working well. I'll go ahead and I've got a lot of thoughts on this because I think it's a complicated issue. I don't think it's a straightforward like A equals B. It's like it has so many variables, and I think to understand it, we have to take a deeper look into this, and that's why I kind of wanted to host a hangout. So I'll share a few thoughts, and then I'll open it up and we'll discuss and share any insights you guys have as well. So my initial reaction to the I was thinking actually Elon was thinking of opening up the entire patent portfolio, just because he said it was a radical move, and yeah, I kind of got the feeling that it was the small cell format, the 18650 or around that size, that is the key to Tesla's success, and is going to be the key to probably any other EV manufacturer. They're going to have to, I think, eventually move to a small size cell format. And I think like some of Tesla's patents, actually a lot of them, have to deal with using a small size format battery to use that in an electric vehicle platform to cool it, to manage it, to do the whole A to Z. And I think Elon felt that other manufacturers, if they can't move to the small cell format, then they have no chance. And if Tesla's going to be involved actually with discouraging other manufacturers to move to the small cell format, then Tesla's going to be actually discouraging the move to electric vehicles, because they won't be able to compete on price, and you'll have a slower adoption. And so I think what Elon Musk was seeing was, he was seeing that Tesla was taking these patents or applying for them and getting them to protect themselves, but in the bigger picture, they were discouraging the greater move to a small cell format for electric vehicles for other manufacturers. And as a result, it's basically these other manufacturers are kind of dead on arrival because they can't get the battery cost down enough to basically warrant a mass adoption like Tesla is facing, and they won't be able to compete. And so I think what it came down to was, he's like, on the greater good, it would be a great thing if he got rid of all the patents, or just kind of let people use them, and other manufacturers could be free to go to the small cell format, like an 18650 size or so. And we would see a faster adoption toward electric vehicles because you'd have more competition, more demand for the cells, better vehicles out there, everything, right? And at the same time, it wouldn't hurt Tesla by releasing these patents, because in Elon's view, Tesla doesn't need the patents per se, because they're innovating faster than just relying on these patents would give them a benefit too. And so because they're innovating fast enough, the only advantage that these patents give to Tesla is it kind of protects them from being sued by another company, which there is no other company right now that can sue Tesla, because Tesla's ahead of it, technology and with EVs. And so as a result, it's a greater good decision, in my opinion. The greater good says, let's remove obstacles from other manufacturers to get into the small cell format, because that's the only chance they have to basically make an affordable electric vehicle. And at the same time, it's not going to hurt Tesla, because we don't really need these patents to defend ourselves. And he says, by doing this, it's going to be a good gesture, basically showing the moral kind of character of Tesla, meaning Tesla's not just for the profit and for market share, but Tesla really is for the greater good. It's kind of like, it tests the mission statement of Tesla, which is, they want to save the planet. They want to see mass adoption to electric vehicles completely. And this is a great move to show that Tesla is serious, that they have that moral character to make these tough decisions. And as a result, Elon is saying it's going to attract even better talent, people who admire that type of vision and that type of moral character that Tesla has. And so I think overall, that's how I look at it. It's a positive for the greater good. It's a neutral to slightly positive for Tesla in the short run, especially with personnel, etc. Elon doesn't see much negative, regarding it, and yeah.
Two things I want to add for color there. One was during the call, an analyst specifically asked if anyone has inquired about licensing his patents, and the answer was someone sniffed, but no one seriously asked. I don't think the small form factor is an issue. I think they're literally not paying any attention at all. Like they're so far away that that's not even an issue yet. The other one is that it's potentially there was a big question about what is meant by good faith, and this could be, in some ways, Tesla knows they're ahead right now, but they potentially need other people's patents, and so this is essentially like the first of a cross-licensing style of agreement, where Tesla might say, we're small fish, but we have some pretty valuable things right now. Instead of going into a patent war, let's just agree to cross-license from the beginning.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if Tesla really needed other people's patents, they would be facing certain issues right now, basically some threats of lawsuits, etc. Basically, there is nothing on Tesla's, plate regarding lawsuits by other manufacturers, etc. There is and that leads me to think that Tesla really doesn't need any patents from any other auto manufacturer.
Well, the other side of it, he also says very, very clear, was he doesn't want to get into a patent fight because he thinks that's like detracting. Like he's probably watching the entire Apple-Samsung fight, and he thinks exactly. as a loss of momentum for management to be dealing with patent fights rather than just working on, and therefore I think is both essentially if the other majors start to spend significant money in BEV technologies, and that's when you can look back at the i3 and you say, well, what did BMW bring to the i3? They brought the carbon fiber reinforced plastic technology. They brought they really didn't bring much new technology to the actual BEV powertrain parts of the i3. Same thing with the i8. No, lots of work on the plug-in hybrid vehicle powertrain. Almost nothing on pure battery electric vehicle part, right? Nissan Leaf is still on their lithium manganese battery from years ago. Almost, and their announcements are basically 2018 before they're looking at new chemistry, or 2017-ish for the Infiniti, 2018-ish for the new Leaf. So I'm not so sure it's about the form factor as much as it's about chemistry, and it's about potentially charging. But to be involved in a fight now, once they do start to spend big amounts of money, the issue is at that point, getting involved in a patent lawsuit is probably not a good idea if they do come up with something that Tesla wants to use. I mean, this is I think this is set up of a play many years down the road. This is not about any time in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, I think the supercharging and the powertrain, some other aspects of the car are, I mean, they're part of the overall package that Tesla has. But I think the thing that holds it all together is basically the small cell form factor. I mean, that's where Tesla's patents are centered around, like how to manage small cell formats in an electric vehicle, and that's where it is. I mean, they have so many patents surrounding that other manufacturers, if they're going to get into a small cell format, EV, they're going to have to basically risk, infringing on Tesla's patents. Like, actually, I've said this before on a Hangout, and basically what I was saying was other manufacturers' only hope to compete with Tesla is to copy Tesla's basically 18650 or similar size format, get the cost down similar to Tesla, and basically just do what Tesla did, like create all the software and all the thermal management and the powertrain based around that, and then you'll have a cost-competitive vehicle to whatever Tesla can come out with, and then you have a chance. Otherwise, these large format batteries, they're not cost competitive to the small format, and you'll never have a cost-competitive vehicle, basically.
The other side of it is Tesla, it made sense for Tesla to choose 18650s because they were going to do low volume to start with, right? Like they weren't going to be able to build. There's no way they could ramp up to build 100,000 vehicles a year right away. They were going to have to do it piecemeal, small bit by small bit. And so it made sense for them to do 18650. But if for example, you're looking at, say, a Nissan, right? Nissan could sit there and say, look, we're gonna start out with a 2 gigawatt factory. At that point, your form factor on whether it's an 18650 or slightly different doesn't really matter. But what matters, because your cost advantages of 18650 are going to be gone at that scale.
No, I disagree. I disagree with that. You know, Elon and JB have said multiple times that the small, cell form factor is by far the most cost-effective, highest density, highest basically cost per kilowatt. And think about it: if you're making a gigafactory, you're going to go with the best, cost per kilowatt hour, highest density form factor, and that's the small format. Elon even emphasized it in the conference call. He suggests to BMW, go small format, small cell format. That's the way to go. That's the only way that they're going to be able to achieve the cost competitiveness with Tesla.
I guess there's a couple of different things, right? One is like prismatic. One of them is cylindrical or prismatic. I don't think necessarily cylindrical beats prismatic, right? But NCA is a very volatile chemistry, and so you have to have special protections. And so I think one of the big problems with the majors is really more centered around they don't spend the money. They don't have their top engineering talent and the top people working on battery electric cars. They just don't. And so without that, it's easier to go with the lithium iron phosphate or one of the other derivatives because you don't have to spend all the time and effort to qualify something that will burn the way NCA will. You can light a match to lithium iron phosphate. It's not going to burn. And so I think the part of the problem is right now is that the vehicles we're seeing take a lot less engineering time and effort to build, to make. And so I'm not sure it's about small versus large. I think it's really more down to are they really putting forward the effort? And
I agree that that's part of it. The larger cell formats. For
example, the three-phase induction motor requires a very sophisticated motor controller, right? Yeah. And so you have to be willing to spend, the development time and the engineering. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have at that point. It's literally if you don't sweat the details and spend the time, you're not going to get there. And so they're not doing it right now.
Yeah,
I'm not so sure it's a small form factor that's causing that problem though.
Well, no, I think we're hitting two different things. For me, it's the small form factor is pretty much the only hope for other manufacturers to make a cost-competitive vehicle. But in order to do so, you're right, they have to put in the engineering effort because it's much more difficult to manage, 7,000 individual lithium-ion cells and make it work all together in a safe and seamless, effective manner, right? And that takes a lot of effort. But what I'm saying is that this whole patent decision today, to me, is all about giving auto manufacturers a chance, basically, at going small cell format.
The other thing to look at is if NMC chemistry gets them at the cell level to 75% of the NCA without the sophisticated cooling that's necessary for NCA, at the pack level, the integration is easier, and potentially the distance at the pack level in terms of specific energy difference drops dramatically. And so I think a lot of Volkswagen is betting on NMC as the chemistry that they will go going forward, and they can forego essentially the nastiness to deal with NCA. And so they'll be able to do NMC at the pack level, even though they'll lose at the cell level, at the pack level, they may be able to get within striking distance. The issue then is cost. And again, at sufficiently large volume, cost should not be the designing factor. For Tesla, starting off making 5,000 cars and then 10,000 cars, 1860 was a huge difference in their pricing. But if you're going to make the commitment of 100,000 cars, you're going to start making commitments at giga factory sizes. I don't think the price difference is nearly what it's made out to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it might not be, but actually, I mean, I've talked to, I've actually talked to JB Straubel personally about this at an event last year. It was the battery swap event, and he was really just saying that the 18650, it's not necessarily just that, but the small cell format is by far the most cost effective. They just haven't been able to find anything that comes close to that. And he's basically, he infers that that's the main reason why that they can do what they can do,
Sure.
Put out a car and make decent gross margins off of it,
Right.
And I mean, sure, there is possibilities that other, chemistries come out and, economies of scale, ramp up, and you get these other large format cells, the prices down to maybe comparable levels. But I highly doubt it, because I think it's easier to scale the small cell format. Especially it's all ripped up. You just have the basics. You don't have any of the safety mechanisms in there. You kind of tear it all apart. You just have the basic cells. I think that's, I don't know. I mean, for me, I lean toward, Tesla's proven it, and they're betting their whole future, the whole gigafactory on that cell format. And you've got to, and they attribute their success to that cell format. And now today they open up their patents, and they basically are encouraging people to copy them, that cell format, right? And to me, and that's my context, To me,
Sure.
It's all about, encouraging other auto manufacturers to go to do what Tesla's done.
The other side of it is that, I mean, if you read the patents and you know something about development, I think the downside for Tesla is very minimal. Partially because what's difficult isn't the broad strokes. Like, everyone has known the broad strokes about Tesla for a long time, and I don't necessarily think that the specifics of the patents are preventing them from doing integration of small battery. They may not do it the way Tesla does it, but they'll figure out a way around those patents that are an issue. But I really just don't think they're spending the time and effort at it. And you can see no one else uses an AC induction motor. They're using, BMW did put it in work for a hybrid motor, but basically everyone else has rare earth usage, rare earth minerals in their motors. They can't scale to the millions. Right? They have to use an AC induction motor that doesn't have three-phase AC induction motor that doesn't have rare earth mineral usage. You go back and forth with a lot of these things. I think what's very interesting is in JB Straubel's Stanford at that conference he just gave at the keynote, as well as the shareholder meeting. It's very clear that Gen 3 is probably on a tweak of the battery that we've got. So they're finally going to change the battery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My going back to kind of the overall announcement, my kind of a big concern initially, and I still have this concern somewhat, but is if Tesla opens up their entire patent portfolio, present and future, what's stopping other manufacturers from basically poaching these engineers? Because these engineers' names are on the patents themselves, And so you basically, if you're another manufacturer, oh my gosh, we can do what Tesla's done. Why not hire the very same engineers who've, created these patents, and they're probably far ahead now in implementation of those type of technologies, and use those engineers to basically recreate what Tesla's done, right? And so,
now, you do know what just happened with Google and Apple and all that, right? They got in big trouble with the anti-poaching agreement that they had.
Yeah, sure.
Do you really think that they don't know who these people are already?
No, but now they have perhaps even a greater incentive to hire these people because they can reuse what they've already done, with permission of Tesla.
Sure.
Right?
The guy who probably is credited with the largest amount of AC induction motor development is at AC Propulsion, and he's back there. Walter I'm trying to remember his last name, P something or another. He wrote some of the blog post on AC induction motors is written by him. That's on Tesla's website. But he left Tesla 2009, I believe. And after he basically built Tesla's motor. And so it would be interesting to see if any of the majors are really serious and they literally buy AC propulsion.
Yeah, I mean,
you would think if they were all that interested in poaching Tesla, they would have poached at least AC propulsion at this point, which is a standalone entity.
Well, AC propulsions, yeah, you have to buy the company. For engineers, you just need to poach one at a time.
That's how Apple does it. Apple will buy out a
easier.
company. I mean, AC propulsion is a teeny little company. Apple will buy out a teeny company just for their engineers.
No, they do both. Apple, Google, Facebook,
Sure.
they go after individuals most of the time, actually. So anyway, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I don't think that's really a concern, because I think Elon's a pretty big picture thinking kind of guy, and I think his real concern is that from a big picture level is that the public still has this mental block about accepting electric vehicles, and until the majors really jump on board, Tesla, even if they get to 300,000, 500,000 cars, that's not going to change the world like Elon wants. And yeah, I think Elon's willing to risk, and I wouldn't even call it a risk, if he lost some key engineers. I think he believes that they're so far ahead right now and they can continue to innovate at Tesla and make the best electric cars possible, that the pie is more than big enough for everyone to jump in. So I think what he's trying to do is really trying to figure out how does he crack the public perception problem of accepting EVs. And that's kind of like a chicken and egg problem, because people think, oh, there's not enough chargers out there, so I'm not going to buy a car, even though we know that you don't necessarily have to have public charging. But the public as a whole feels like, oh, we've got to have public charging stations to feel comfortable. But until the cars are out there, it's kind of like we just go around it. But if the electric vehicle could be a compelling vehicle with a better range, 150, 200-mile range, and Tesla kind of opens up the portfolio and says, hey, this is how we do it. If you want to get serious, jump on board, then at least there's a chance to get that rolling. And if they take some engineers to do that, that's great, because then the cars are going to be out there, hopefully. But it just seems like the big automakers just are so reluctant to damage their core business and infringe upon the dealer network right now. They're just holding back. So yeah, it's still that public perception issue that's trying to be cracked right now.
Both of the original founders of Tesla have been consultants for other companies. Have you guys seen the video? Not Martin Eberhard, but the other guy. I'm terrible with names right now. I'm trying to pull up.
Yeah, I know you're Mark Tarpingham or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you seen his fascinating video?
I've seen it. Yeah, he had an updated
consulting for
video
Volkswagen.
Well. Yeah, the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, I don't mind them consulting for other companies. Personally, I don't think they have the in-depth engineering knowledge that some of the key type of lead engineers at Tesla might have. And so that's what I'm concerned about. In Tesla, you might have certain lead engineers that are running like 20, 30 people teams or small departments, and they know everything about their whole entire kind of section of technology, whether it be the powertrain or the supercharging aspect or whatever. And they know so much about the technology. They know everything about that, right? And when that person gets poached, it's like, to me that's worse than I don't know, because you have to rebuild, and it's just like, I don't know. Yeah.
So I'm hi guys. Sorry, I missed this. So what's the verdict? Is this doom and gloom, or Elon's a genius?
I don't think it's doom and gloom.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, Actually, I was sharing that I think in the long term, this is for the greater good of of the whole world, basically, right? In the short term, I think this is a question mark, whether it's a neutral move, whether it's slightly positive or slightly negative. Yeah, I mean, Elon is basically saying it's going to be slightly positive because they can attract and hire, talent. I'm saying unless Tesla has some things in place, they could lose some talent, because of this, because other auto manufacturers might hire them away. I would personally like Tesla to make an agreement with any auto manufacturers that want to use their patents, where the other manufacturers agree not to poach their engineers, basically, And
is that legal?
I mean, to me, that's good faith. You're not going to say, "Hey, I want to use all your patents, and I want to take all your engineers."
I thought California just established that wasn't legal.
I don't know, but to me, that's like give away. Tesla gives away their patents, but why give away your best engineers?
Well, I guess the other side of it is that if the engineer is willing to leave, they're gonna be willing to leave, and so the defense against that is not an anti-poaching agreement. The defense is to have Tesla be a better place to be.
That's true. I mean, that's how a lot of companies do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you think about it from like a personnel, like maybe even like your own perspective, it's like, yeah, if I had the chance to do something great at Tesla and GM tried to throw a bunch of money at me, yeah, I mean, I don't even know if a huge pile of money would necessarily make me leave. Yeah, I'm trying to think like an idealistic engineer.
But if Porsche offered you that money,
yeah,
it's gonna depend on the maker, right? So
yeah,
if you believe they're serious, right?
Yeah, that's partially true too. So yeah. But I still think though, from a big picture perspective, it's like, if we change the paradigm and say, okay, this isn't Tesla as an automotive company. This is Tesla as a energy management system or a battery pack manufacturer or a storage development company. It seems like it'd be quite a positive, because if the whole market is 100 million cars a year, say, there's no way Tesla could ever corner that. Well, I shouldn't say no way, but it'd be a long, long time before they'd ever corner that market. There's plenty of room.
From a pure battery perspective, though, the top minds in batteries aren't at Tesla. They're at Samsung. They're at LG Chem. They're at Panasonic. And so if you are really just looking at battery technology, Tesla's not the place it's at. However, Tesla is the place for knowing how to use it in an automotive sense, right? Which is a slightly different challenge. But if it really came down to just batteries, there's plenty of places to go. Now, the lead battery guy at Tesla happens to be a guy who spent many years at Panasonic. It was head of Panasonic's advanced lab in the U.S. And so, they obviously have people who know about batteries, but there are plenty of other places to find great battery talent.
Oh yeah, but I think it's more where it becomes interesting if Tesla, say, down the road has 5 gigafactories or 10 gigafactories or 20 spread out around the world, and they're the battery pack supplier. This is it. They should give their technology away to everyone, because then they start building around their battery management systems and ordering their battery packs. It's not just automotive; it could be the stationary storage facilities, like with the grid management systems and all that. So that space could be massive if they could really get into the make their technology the lead technology that people rely on.
Yeah, I mean, Elon did mention something interesting. I think in the blog post it was, but he called it they want to build a platform, basically, and an industry platform, basically, rather than just their own company platform, right? And so what I took that to mean is is they want to build a larger industry-wide, let's say, charging platform. So now they're starting to think supercharger, but how can we involve other manufacturers to make this industry standard? They're thinking batteries as like, in the supply chain. Like how can we make batteries common for the entire EV world platform, basically, right? And then how can, I don't know, I guess, maybe certain other aspects of the car, can be put into the world, basically, EV industry platform, right? But basically, you need the batteries and you need the charging, and then I guess the company will decide on how to put the powertrain together and how to manage it all. But actually, that's probably going to be together somewhat with the supercharging too, because if you're going to charge at a minimum of 135, kilowatt hour, basically you're going to have to integrate some of the software and how to manage those cells into some type of, that's going to be part of the platform as well, basically what I'm saying, right? If the supercharging...
That's got to be part of J1772DC already, though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, but at supercharging rates,
Right. J1772DC is the protocol that it's a variant that Tesla's using, but it's basically...
But I would imagine Tesla does a lot of customization, off of that. Yeah, and so I'm just saying that it's a lot of different things that they're probably thinking beyond just Tesla as a company now. They're starting to think as what's going to be the industry platform, right? What's going to be the charging platform? What's going to be the battery platform? What's going to be, the cell management platform, And this is kind of what they're starting to think about, and this is why the patent decision today kind of makes sense, because basically they're saying we're ready to take the next step. Tesla as a company is pretty secure, so we want to see what we can do to help establish an industry-wide platform that will spur EV adoption, basically.
If nothing else, it's a brilliant marketing move.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I think I agree with, and I'm coming late. I agree with a lot of what you guys are saying, but at the same time, I can't help but feel that I wonder, either it's a stroke of brilliance and it's sort of the necessary evolution of Tesla as a company, and it's like sort of or it doesn't really matter much, or it's kind of naive and foolish on Elon's part. I mean, but what I go back to is, why are other car makers not making competitive EVs? And I think if the answer is they don't have patents and IP to do it, then I guess this helps, maybe. But honestly, I don't believe that's the reason they're not making them competitively. I believe it's because they don't want to. I don't think they want to make EVs that sell and compete with their own 100 million fleet products. And Elon has on multiple occasions he has spoken as if he can't believe that's the case, and I can't believe that he can't believe it, in a way. I mean, I sort of fall in on this. Why would these companies sort of cripple their bread and butter with an electric vehicle? They don't want EVs to succeed, and I think he underestimates that. So, in one sense, releasing these patents kind of is maybe doesn't matter. It might not, if they're never going to use them. Then okay, it's sort of a publicity, sort of open source. We're very open. That's great.
It's not that they're not going to use them. You have to be really careful.
Right. No, I don't mean.
He's not giving away. Some of the headlines are very misleading with this. He's not giving away his patents.
I meant if the other companies aren't going to use them, then
right.
What was the point?
Right. Yep.
So that was like the negative. The positive in me says, well, he's got to be having closed-door meetings with people, and maybe some of them have said, Elon, maybe Gozen or Nissan or whatever came in and was like, the only reason we're not doing this is because we could never catch up, and if we just had some of your patents, but we're afraid you're going to sue us if we even come close to what you're doing. then we would do it. Then maybe he's like, okay, great. So maybe that's what's going on, and he can't announce specifics of it. And I'm hopeful that that's the case. But I'm also fearful at the same time that it's kind of like, huh? You know, like what is if they weren't already making competitive EVs and trying hard to do so, I don't think this is the thing that puts them over the edge to get other car makers to start doing it. But maybe I'm wrong, and I'd like to be wrong.
I think for people who haven't seen it, the guy's name is Mark Tarpenning. Mark Tarpenning is one of the founders of Tesla, and he has an excellent video on YouTube that basically describes the founding of Tesla and what they went through. And then he also talks about the other car manufacturers. He's been doing consulting for other car manufacturers once he's left Tesla. And he's saying that the big car companies are no longer vertically integrated. And so basically their sales and marketing, their internal combustion engine, and their administration.
Yeah, totally.
And that's it.
That's
and
true.
So the largest bulk of their internal engineering is now internal combustion engine design.
Right, right.
Almost everything else is outsourced.
Yep.
So, you know, they basically, if you think about who gets assigned to do the BEV, right? Like the choice job at these places is to do the internal combustion engine design, right? Not, you know, who gets assigned to do the BEV project. You know, essentially, it's like Disney going to their team C saying, here's the straight-to-video project for you to work on. Our team A is going to go work on the next Pixar blockbuster.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's building compliance cars. You know, they're not that nobody's trying.
Actually, I think you guys are missing something here. It's not that I think you guys are painting kind of this very pessimistic view of other auto manufacturers. Personally, I think they're very competent. But the way I look at it is they're looking at it purely from a business perspective, and they're looking at the numbers of EVs that are being sold right now and how many EVs are going to be sold next year and the following year, right? Maybe about 2 or 3 years. And by doing so, it just doesn't justify a huge investment right now.
Yeah, but they've engineered that false low demand for products that they're horrible. They're bad products.
No, actually, I disagree.
Well, no. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to spend the money and the time, the manpower, take your top engineers and give them huge budgets to go work on AC induction motors, to work on newer battery chemistry. All that kind of stuff is really hard to do. It's going to take them years to go do that.
No,
given the roadmap that Tesla has given.
Yeah. Okay, guys, you have to take a step back. Okay. I mean, you have to take a step back, and I mean that Mark Tarpenning video is fine, but personally I think it's so-so in his old perspective on the auto market. I don't think he's giving us the right perspective. In my opinion, it's about these auto manufacturers where they look out, okay, we're going to sell 20,000 cars, 30,000, next year 50,000, in 3 years maybe 100,000 max. Those numbers aren't going to justify a huge investment. So what they're going to do is they're going to roll out these test vehicles, right? They're going to roll out these vehicles to just gain a market segment, a niche in the market, and wait until the market develops further, right? See, here's the thing. They're looking at the market as kind of like this linear growth where they could just say, okay, it's going a little bit, and they can catch up. What Elon Musk and J.B. Straubel, the way they're looking at the market is they're looking at this market with a hockey stick. They're basically saying once EV adoption picks up, it's going to be a hockey stick and you're not going to be able to catch up unless you plan for it beforehand. That's the difference of Tesla and other auto manufacturers.
Well, they're seeing the hockey stick, but they realize they can't fulfill the demand for the hockey stick. Like they literally, I mean, for them to have enough capital to build 10% of the world's cars is, I mean, how many secondaries would they have to do to raise enough money to build that that kind of capacity?
But what I'm saying is that the worldview of these other auto manufacturers, it's a slow basically thing up. Even like Carlos Ghosn of Nissan, if you listen to him, I mean, I spent some time listening to a bunch of his talks, and he really thinks like in 15, 20 years, electric cars will be just a part of the bigger picture. He thinks hybrids will probably be more, but he thinks, maybe 10, 15, maybe % or so, that's how they're viewing it. They're looking at it as a linear ramp for the next 15 or 20 years. They have plenty of time, in their opinion, to basically iterate, introduce new models as the demand grows. And so once, they think they could sell 200, 300, 400, 500,000 cars, they're going to release better cars, put more priority in it right now. But for us to expect, Nissan or whoever to make it the top priority right now for their entire company to come out with a killer car, and because their projection is, like they're going to sell 20, 30,000 lease this year. I mean, that's not realistic,
Well, I think without the Tesla, the i3 would never have made it to production. It would have been a concept car. They would have shown it off, see what we can do, and it would have quietly gone into.
No, the i3, in my opinion, I mean, they've been planning this, from the Mini E from the Active E, all this stuff. And their whole thing to me is they're looking at the Leaf and the Prius, right? And that's their market, right? I think Tesla completely surprised them personally, And so I think they're looking for kind of an entry-level type of thing. They can produce a small amount of cars and basically iterate over 15, 20 years as the electric market grows up linearly, right? That's all the auto manufacturers right now, right? And that's the reason why they're not making the killer electric cars that some of us want them to, but because they're not seeing the market size yet, right? And that's expected.
So back to the point. Let me just ask you this: if you think that they did see the market size in the way that Tesla does or we do you think they have the capability to build a true Tesla Model S competitor today?
Yeah, I personally, I think if they saw the hockey stick that Elon and JB are seeing, and basically, millions and millions of these electric cars within maybe like 6 to 7 years or so, I think they could come out actually with a really good car if they copied Tesla's approach of small cell format.
How long do you think it would take them to do that?
I don't know. Personally, I don't think it's, to me, it's more of a value and priority issue. If they resolve to do it, like Toyota has like, how many $1 billion cash do they have? Was it like 50 or something crazy? They're making like, is it 10 to 15 billion just cash, 15 billion this year or something? They could use, $5 billion in cash, hire a horde of engineers, right, from Tesla and other places, give them a ton of stock options, right, for putting this together. And within, probably 2 to 3 years, they can come, probably within 2 years, they come out with a beta prototype, another 2 years to come out with production, and they can come out with a pretty decent car. I think Tesla would make a better car, personally, but I think they can make a pretty compelling car within 4 years, personally.
Well, I think in 4 years, they could beat Tesla.
I disagree.
If they chose to.
Yeah.
If they chose to.
I don't know about that. I think that I think that corporate culture is so intangible, and yet it's so important to a company. I mean, sometimes you just can't force a company to change outside of its comfort zone, even though it has an unlimited amount of resources and an unlimited amount of maybe even time. I mean, you can't make Budweiser beer if it or Walmart or something start making cars. I mean, you just and I don't think it's that far of a leap, but I really do think building a combustion engine well, and all the nuance and generations of history. I mean, literally generations of people have worked in these companies and just have so much vested interest in their continuing to do exactly what they've always done in a way. If you study the life cycle of a company and you look at just the curve. I mean, there's sort of growth, there's a peak and a plateau, and then there's an inevitable decline. And it's every company in history. It's just the length of the curve. So when you look at Tesla is sort of in its prime. It's nimble, it's agile, it has a mission. It failed a couple times with that, but then it had some test fires, got it right with the Model S, knocked it out of the park, and now is sort of just on that growth path, which is what we all see. But these other companies, they are not anywhere near growth paths. They are cash cows. They just churn out, put in meat, sausage factory, outspits a combustion engine, and they tweak it a bit.
Well,
maybe get a little bit better over
put it this
time.
way: if Toyota got Tesla powertrain to put into a Lexus LS or GS, do you think that they would end up with something better than a Model S?
No, I definitely do not. I mean, I know some. I mean, I used to know some guys at Toyota. I mean, I think even though the people in the marketing department there would love that, it's just not going to happen. I mean, I think culturally.
No. I'm not saying about whether they would do it or not culturally. I mean, would Lexus be able to, using Tesla's powertrain components, would they be able to produce a car that's better than a Model S using the Model S motor, using the Model S battery pack?
If they
BMS.
hired a whole lot of people from Tesla and had 5 years, yes, I think they could. But that would be the only way. They'd have to steal a lot of people and have 5 years.
So what's interesting is that Mercedes essentially had that, right? They could have chosen to take, and ask Tesla to build a Mercedes S-Class or E-Class with a powertrain. They chose to put it in the B-Class. I think that says something, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does it say?
I think from their perspective, they just don't believe it's going to all be there. And
I agree. They wanted to build a compliance car and make it. I mean, the CEO. Listen to what he said. He was like, "I have to build it," or was like, "I have to build this car." And what was the recent? That wasn't Mercedes, but it was like, "I hope people don't buy it."
Oh yeah, that was Fiat. Yeah,
Fiat, right? So I mean, that's their mentality. I hope people don't buy it. And that is what I know Elon wants to change. It's certainly what I want to change. And I think if releasing the patents helps us along that road, then I think it's great. But I think we're further away from that, and Tesla's going to have to. I think it's going to be Tesla's going to have to prove the demand with the Model E, and once that happens, then and only then is the world really going to, take notice and go, oh my God. I have to have these, and we have to make a billion gigafactories everywhere.
I would love to have known, or to know what at the shareholders meeting, Mr. Musk revealed that Toyota came back to them and wanted to have more powertrain. And Tesla decided they couldn't do it. I do wonder what vehicle Toyota had in mind.
No, I thought Toyota backed out.
No, Tesla turned them down.
What?
Yeah, it was in the shareholder meeting. Elon mentioned that Toyota actually wanted quite a large volume of battery packs for their next project, but Tesla said they couldn't supply them because they don't have the supply, basically, of batteries.
Oh, that part, right? Okay, but they discontinued I was thinking of discontinuing the RAV.
They discontinued the RAV4, but I doubt it was a follow-on to build another RAV4. Yeah. It was probably for a new vehicle. And so the question is, what new vehicle would Toyota would have launched?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I think these other manufacturers, I mean, they can make some decent electric vehicles if the priority is right. I mean, for example, an Lexus LS or GS, it's going to appeal electric Lexus LS is going to appeal to certain people. I mean, it's just a different car than a Model S. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
It's like it's a different just type of person as well.
My conjecture for Mercedes, if they put a Model S, if they put the powertrain that they put in the B class into the GLK, and a GLK is a bigger car, they'll be able to put a bigger battery into it. They would have a bona fide hit. If the GLK shipped, this year with with a Tesla powertrain, who wouldn't? There was a large number of people who would buy that.
Well, you have to compare it now to the Model X coming out too.
I mean, it's like the Model X is going to be GL sized, right?
Yeah.
Like a much bigger car. No, I'm talking about like maybe 40 to 50 kilowatt hour GLK, right?
Well, but let's make sure we don't act like Tesla's powertrain is the only thing that makes the Model S great. I mean, the Model S, I think if it was a combustion car, it would still be the best car on the road. If you took the powertrain out, I mean, it's the safest, sleekest, touchscreen interface I mean, all of that is so miles ahead of anyone else. I mean, I read an article recently on Ars Technica, which I think the journalist should be should be slapped for not mentioning the Tesla. He was like developments in-car entertainment of the future.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was all these different, like,
the comments basically say that in that article.
like outsourced, things thrown into cars, like, and it's just after living with the Model S, and they even denigrated touchscreens. They were like, oh my God, a touchscreen, you could never deal with that in a car, which is obviously, not true. But so I think that the car is much more than the sum of the parts, and it represents people and time and discipline and focus, and that,
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Elon mentioned something. He talked about, it's not the patents that are important; it's the velocity of innovation that a company can go through. And velocity it's kind of a terminology that a lot of Silicon Valley tech companies use, and they actually try to measure their velocity, how fast they can iterate and go through a product cycle and come up with a new function. They time themselves, with certain milestones, etc., and they come up with a velocity number actually. And so what Elon Musk is saying is, to me, this is how I'm taking it. He's basically saying he's really confident that Tesla is moving at a high velocity in terms of speed.
Yeah.
And in no other auto manufacturer, or at least major auto manufacturer, can compete with Tesla's velocity right now, because Tesla's moving at a Silicon Valley, tech company velocity speed.
Right.
And so as a result, it's kind of like, hey, use our old technology, because that's old, because we're moving so fast, we're coming up with newer and newer things, right?
Sure.
So I think that's kind of like the backdrop of today's announcement as well.
Well, he also said that he wanted to caution people. He did not say, our patents are like all that great. He said it was a very modest thing that they're putting out there, and hopefully if anyone is thinking this might block them, this is one more thing to not block them. But he said this is very modest. This is not a big thing, and he sees it primarily defensive. The portfolio exists so that other people can't claim them as their invention and sue Tesla. That's the reason why they have it. It's not so much to go after other people. And so if that was their modus operandi anyways, you might as well get the marketing value out of it by saying, hey, use it. And if you don't, then we get to slap you silly in the public marketplace and say, why are you guys still being idiots?
Well, I think part of this also relates to Elon's personal view about the environment and climate change, because part of what his comments were is, I don't know, I won't say it verbatim, but basically that the things have to change quicker than they're changing, and that's a huge concern to him. So the lens that the traditional automakers look at things through, it's what I'd call a evolutionary lens. Dave's, and we've talked about it, they're just slow. They kind of want to just move at an evolutionary pace and kind of have a progression that way. But I think Tesla and especially Elon wants a revolution. He wants this to move quickly and fast, because he's concerned about what's going to happen to the planet. But not only that, he wants to push us fast to get there, just to make the world a better place.
Yeah, I was actually talking to my wife earlier today, and I was saying, it sounds like it's not just a purely business or economic decision, today's announcement. It's kind of like Elon wants to work for a company that he could feel proud of, working for. And part of that is he doesn't want to work for a company that is discouraging other companies from making good electric vehicles and slowing down, electric vehicle adoption, which would be speeding up climate change. And so he's like, I think it's kind of like improving Tesla as a company for him personally. So he feels, prouder to work at Tesla. There's nothing negative that Tesla is contributing toward, right? I think that is partly this personal guilt he was feeling with so many patents that Tesla could be discouraging other companies, and that could be harming the greater good. And so I think personally today it was also a personal move on Elon Musk's part, saying, hey, I don't want to work for a company no matter how big or how profitable it can become if it's going to harm the greater good.
Well, did you guys catch what he was saying about the board and he could be fired at the beginning of those comments? I kind of missed that.
What?
What was he saying?
Yeah, it was just a passing comment. He was actually, if you listen to it, he was just saying, this decision, it could be voted against, or shareholders can overturn it. They could fire him. But it wasn't very serious. It was just, I wouldn't take it as.
Yeah, I kind of caught like what,
Yeah.
and then it kind of went away real quick, and so.
Well, I gotta admit, like when my wife like IM'd me, she was like, "What did Elon do?" And I was like, "Wow!" My wife texted me. But the first thing I thought of was the scene in Iron Man when he's like, "We're gonna see some weapons manufacturing," and sort of like Jim. You see Kramer go, "That's a company that doesn't sell weapons." Smash, and. But I had took a step back, and I'm like, all right, Elon hasn't gone off the reservation. They're still making the best car on the planet. They're still miles ahead so far ahead of the other automakers, in fact, that they really kind of need to lend a helping hand to grow the market, grow the addressable market. And I do think that is the case, But at first I was like, whoa, it's sort of an Iron Man moment there.
Yeah. Another thing, this is super long term, but it's important to me because I'm starting to think very long term with my Tesla holdings. I think that if Elon Musk and Tesla was purely like a business, economic focused company, I think that after they saturate the auto market, I don't know if there would be much options left. I mean, maybe I guess stationary storage would be a big thing, but with Elon Musk thinking out of the box and thinking not just business economically, but also greater good. To me, we have an option call as a shareholder in Tesla for the next thing that Tesla will get into, let's say in the year 2030 or something, as auto growth is stabilizing with EVs. And I think when you look at the next market that Tesla can go into, purely from an economic or business perspective, it's limited because you only go into things that make sense. But when you go into certain things that have the greater good involved, basically a lot of times the things that have the greater good are things that will pick up steam and momentum later on because they're good for everybody. Eventually everyone gets it, and there's a momentum toward that. Maybe in the beginning there isn't, right? And so to me, it gives me confidence in Tesla's long-term future that after the auto market gets saturated, Tesla, to me, has a great potential possibility of finding a new market that other people aren't going to be able to find because they're just looking at the economics. But Tesla's,
flying cars?
Who knows, Well, even stationary storage, it's kind of not really related to cars, etc., but it involves the greater good. We need stationary storage to get off,
Well, I mean, if you look at SpaceX as an example, right? For most companies, they'd be really happy just finding that optimal curve where I beat my competitor to the contract, but I make as much money as possible. And so I'm only going to lower my costs. I'm only going to strive to lower my costs to a certain degree, right? But by having the overarching mission of going to Mars and becoming a multi-planet species, and in order to do that, not only do we have to beat our competitors to a pulp, but we have to do like 100 times better than that in order to make this grand vision happen. It drives the company much further than otherwise possible if profit was the only motive. Because profit was the only motive, all you have to do is be better than the next guy, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. If profit's going to be the main goal or market share for Tesla, it's going to end at a certain point, And then you go into maybe something you can have market share, but that is logic, and that looking after economic gain can be short-sighted. That's what I'm saying. A lot of times the long-term big bets are the ones you go after when it doesn't make economic sense at this moment right now, but it's going to be the future, and the world needs it, right? And that's where I'm saying it's like Tesla, man, maybe after cars and stationary storage, who knows? Like, that's the option call Tesla shareholders have, And today it just proves it again. Elon Musk is like, he's a crazy.
There's plenty of time to get into the stock if you want to be part of that option call.
Yeah, exactly. That was a while ago.
Well, I mean, I agree with all this, but I would, my business school finance professor would have slapped me and said, Mr. Harrington, corporations exist to make money and deliver shareholder value, you know. And I would be like, okay, but I mean, stepping back from that, I also had a class where we talked about the triple bottom line, which is, you know, having a financial bottom line, a social bottom line, and an environmental bottom line. And there are companies that are involved in that. There are not a lot of nonprofits that are involved in that too. But one has to be careful treading that line, you know, in a for-profit public corporation that's subject to, you know, all kinds of laws and regulations, to make sure that you don't say, you know, I'm just going to decide to make this a nonprofit. I mean, you can't do that, you know, without the shareholders saying, okay, I bought a share in a company that was one thing, and you're saying it's not that. So, yeah. But I think that this needs to be packaged and framed by Elon and his team in a way that is digestible and understandable to not just the market, but I think maybe even to shareholders. You know, and I think that we'll see more of that probably in the coming, you know, weeks. But,
yeah, I agree. Personally, I think the blog was too succinct. It didn't go into depth. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of question marks. I was kind of disappointed actually by it. I took it in context though, because last week Elon Musk mentioned that he thought Tesla had the potential to become one of the most valuable companies in the world.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and he was even saying, you know, just even you know, he was saying by 2020, or with Tesla with 500,000 cars, it'll be a lot higher stock price than it is now if you just work out all the numbers, right?
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah, which is true. But when he's saying it could become one of the most valuable companies in the world, he's working out the numbers. Actually, he's thinking, you know, how many millions of cars Tesla can sell, and the gross margin, and the market cap, and all that stuff. And so it's good to know that he's thinking like that.
He's validated your model.
Exactly. Yeah. He's thinking like that, and you know, because if he didn't share any of that, then we could be thinking, what is Elon Musk thinking? You know, he's like not wanting to make any money anymore, you know, or something. But
what he's saying is stop buying options and just buy and hold shares, guys. That's what he's saying.
Exactly.
I mean, if you want to speculate, even we've I think talked about it in the past, but like, you know, when you have all these cars out in the market, you know, there becomes more of an energy grid management system, and then you can work with the utility companies to balance loads and get payback for helping them not have to build more infrastructure. So there's a whole economic revenue stream that could come from that, and the same thing over time as the tie-in with Solar City could expand, and you have cars charging overnight, but then, you know, offsetting the grid during the day, or however, you know, you structure that entire business. You know, when you look at the automotive business and the energy business, those are, if not the two largest businesses in the world, pretty close to, you know, there's plenty of room to grow and opportunity.
Yeah, I can't wait for my firmware upgrade to get vehicle to grid, so my Tesla can be my whole house UPS.
Yeah.
You know, coming soon to you in Tesla time, you know, 2018 or something.
Yeah.
All right, man. It was good talking to you guys. We'll end the patent discussion here. Do you guys have any thoughts on the shareholder meeting? Like autopilot?
He was happy.
Well done.
The number one thing for me was that he looked happy.
That's true.
And you know, a happy Mr. Musk means that things have been going well, right?
Yes, indeed. He was fired
and that's
up.
good for us, you know.
Yeah. And he was in like full-on comedian mode. It was great, you know.
Sure. Hey, so I'll share a speculation or a hunch I have. I think with autopilot, I think they're gonna do a hybrid. They're gonna have two systems that they join together. One's gonna be mobilized system, and they're going to put another system on top of that, their software, Tesla software system. And so it's going to be like you'll have like these two softwares running, and it'll be that much safer than just a Mobileye software. Like I was doing have you guys done research on Mobileye yet?
Wait, say that again? On a Mobileye software?
Yeah, so Mobileye is this company in Israel. and they're going IPO. They're the main company that's doing all of the adaptive cruise control stuff behind the scenes. So all of the manufacturers like Mercedes and whoever, they all use Mobileye's technology basically to do like lane departure and adaptive cruise control and all this stuff, right? And so basically what it is, it's a camera-based system, and they have a chip that's made by another company that basically identifies all the moving objects on the screen. And then Mobileye has a software that basically analyzes those moving objects to create an adaptive cruise control or lane departure system or et cetera, right? And so right now they're in development for autopilot, Mobileye is, and their goal is, I think by 2017 or 2016, they want to have an autopilot basically car that drives, and they already have some prototypes out. Some guy on the forum, he's test driven an Audi, I think it was a Q5 or something, but basically it's going to do exactly what Elon Musk is saying. It basically is on the freeway, it's going to autopilot the whole way. You know, you have to touch it. And supposedly Tesla signed an agreement with Mobileye back in February of this year. And they inked a deal basically with Mobileye to use their technology. And so it's kind of confusing because with Mobileye, their system is one camera in front or something, or two cameras in front, one camera on each side, and one camera in the back. It's like a 5-camera system or something they're developing. And what was confusing was Tesla is saying that they're developing their own autopilot system, right? But then they ink a deal with Mobileye to use their technology. And so I was thinking, okay, maybe they just use the cameras or something, right? Or the chip. But then actually Mobileye doesn't really make the cameras or the chip itself. It's other companies. Mobileye is making the software, which Tesla is saying they're making, right? And so anyways, when Elon Musk is saying that they're going to be the first to market with the autopilot system, he's basically saying they're going to be the first car even before Mobileye's system comes out on the market with Audi and Mercedes and a few others, probably in the 2016 to 17 range. That's what some car companies are estimating. But yeah, I think what's going to happen is Tesla's making their own software, but they're also going to use like Mobileye software. It'll be a dual software system, and they'll check each other basically.
Did they indicate retrofit?
No, I was going to ask that actually. I wish at the shareholder meeting, I wish I had like 10, you know.
I wish you could have asked every question. My God, watching those questions we asked, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was thinking like, man, if I could just, me or someone else could just have started out with Elon on the stage asking like 10 to 15 or 20 questions really fast, you know?
Yeah.
We could have had a...
He was begging for more questions at the end there.
Actually, Dave, that Mobileye comment you had is interesting because I don't know if you caught, I know you guys caught on the Tesla Motor Club's forum, I think it was in the firmware thread. I can't remember the exact comment, but there was someone who said the latest firmware push that he got broke his like aftermarket Mobileye install that he did, or did something to it. So you know, maybe they did some coding that changed something in the car that interacted with his Mobileye system.
He has an aftermarket? Wow, that's interesting that he into his Tesla.
Well, actually, Mobileye has an aftermarket type of unit. It's a camera system that you can put in, and it does just like lane departure warning, and it checks the speed limits on the roads and a few other things. Like it actually like is really helpful, I hear. But yeah.
Well, I have, you know, actually, I just had to buy my mom a new car, and she refused to get a Tesla. So, but I got her a Subaru Forester, which is a great car. I mean, for combustion cars, they're great, and it actually has eyesight. If you guys have you driven this? So it's like it is a dual camera front system, and it's full adaptive cruise control that basically stays, you know, a certain distance from the car in front. I mean, it's autopilot without lane change. I mean, so it won't turn for you, but it will brake the car, and it will accelerate the car with a preset amount of distance between you and the car in front of you. And
that's like Mercedes radar-based system.
And it's they're using the same. They're using the same system. So I don't know if maybe that's the brand name for a Mobileye product, but there's two cameras on the front of my mom's, on the roof, and it's great. So I mean, I have to imagine that Elon's version will be even better. So
yeah, Subaru probably is using either Mobileye, or there's one or two other players in this adaptive cruise control type of space, and then they source all the OEMs basically with all their features. Yeah.
But it works pretty well.
Yeah.
The thing that intrigued me listening to the shareholders meetings was just Elon's comments about the X and kind of the anticipation he's built around it. It's going to be interesting to see what it actually turns out to be.
Yeah, those second row seats better be freaking awesome now. I mean, he's going to build it to that level. I mean,
seriously, they're going to be, I don't know, they're going to do your laundry and make you dinner.
All right, man. Okay, guys, good talking with you guys.
Real quick,
I always learn new things as we discuss these things in depth.
Off camera, did they say anything more about the Lathrop facility?
Oh, you heard on the shareholder meeting, right?
Right.
Yeah,
but off camera, did they? I just don't know if you guys heard anything more off camera.
No.
Yeah. It's weird that they are choosing to do that now.
It is interesting. Yeah. I mean, I was at I did a factory tour last week, and I mean, I'll share this because it doesn't mean anything, but they do have space for the Model X line already. It's kind of like the guy's like, that's the Model X line. It hasn't been built out at all, right? But
right.
They have space. So I don't know. I mean, but they have I think the guy was saying that they're using is it 25% of the factory space, or 25 or a quarter or a third of the space right now. And so they have actually, most of the factory is empty. So, it's strange that they would do Lathrop. But to me, I took it as a sign of this bullish move that Tesla really is thinking they're going to fill out the factory,
Right.
And it's better just to start now, if they can, to do these other, manufacturing facilities. Oh, I also did hear that, I didn't know this, Tesla actually has a whole plastic manufacturing section in their factory where they make the tour guide was claiming that they make most of all their plastics actually in-house now.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
that
correct.
that was interesting too.
Yeah, that was actually a legacy from the NUMMI days. There's the factory building, but then there's another building that's not like the vehicle manufacturing, and that's where they do all their injection molding. They can make anything. They have the pellet storage there and the machines that they can craft any plastic part you need.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Basically.
And then before we go, have we had really some good evidence on Chinese deliveries in this month? In May and in June?
I haven't seen.
Haven't heard anything. Yeah.
Okay. Because that video that just came out claimed it was the first Shanghai shipment of 166 cars. And that was in June. So I'm wondering if did all the rest of them deliver, like in the UK delivery that just happened, I'm wondering, do they have 300 cars sitting in the dock waiting for delivery, or do they literally deliver 5 and the next boat's coming sometime later? You know what I'm saying? I just have no visibility into just how much ramp is there in these new markets.
I don't know. I think China's huge. I mean, did you see the Uber partnership?
Yeah.
So I think that's great, but whatever. I mean, I think that's going to be huge for them. So.
Yeah, to me, it's just how many are they really getting across the pond? There's such a large overhang from Q1, right? These cars, were they mostly right-hand drive cars that needed, final approval? Were they cars intended for China? Are they sitting in a lot somewhere? You know what I'm saying? And so are they able to push all of them into the market this quarter? I would hope so, but it'll be interesting to get actual numbers from. So yeah, we'd love to know.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks,
good night, man. We'll chat again.
Okay.
Thanks for hosting.
All right, man.
Thanks,
we'll see you
Dave.
guys. Bye.
Good night.
Catch you later.
Bye.